How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. So I'm going to be talking in the end of this video about a proposal to give you $2,000 right up front and to give you $1,000 a month, and this is on a prepaid card and is given to just about everyone. So you should definitely stay until the end to hear that, but I want to go through some other stuff before then so you can get background for how likely the stimulus is to happen. So right now the House is voting on the interim bill to pass 3.5, the interim bill stimulus package 3.5. After that, it goes on to President Trump. He's most likely going to sign it. He said they would. So we have that to look forward to. Now, phase 4, the phase that would give individuals more money in the form of checks or waiving house payments, that is still under debate right now. But I've talked about some of the stimulus packages in my last videos. But I think that we should start with yesterday's White House briefing. President Donald Trump hadn't really talked about the Georgia governor's plan to reopen the economy yet, so he hadn't weighed in on that. But last night he mentioned in some comments that he disagrees strongly with the governor's decision to reopen part of the economy tomorrow. He doesn't think that there's been enough time given to recover, and the governor wants to reopen, and President Trump's just saying he doesn't agree with it. So I think that's important. I previously talked about a plan that Trump had made to reopen the economy, and I think that has direct impact on whether or not we get more individual stimulus. If we have more jobs, then we don't need stimulus as badly as before. So as more of the country opens up, the likelihood of stimulus will go down. The coronavirus model stated that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to reopen some of our states. So some of the states that were previously thought to open soon are put on longer timelines. It's saying, for example, Florida has to wait until June 14 to reopen. Arizona is looking at end of June. Kansas is late May. New York is late May also. They take this model into account when they're projecting when we can reopen. Along with that, there's also some news today that the WHO mistakenly posted results for the Gilead drug. This drug had been previously thought of as one of the leading experimental treatments for everything that's going on right now, and they said that some information was leaked from the Chinese government, so think about what you will, that it didn't work. So that drug was called remdesivir. You can look it up yourself and kind of learn more about what the data shows, but that mixed with Trump saying that he didn't really know about reopening the economy this soon, mixed with the model that's saying that it's going to take longer, probably definitely helps our chances of stimulus. Now, I'm not saying that we are going to get it, but as we look at longer timelines, that's definitely a possibility. Now, there are some local governments now that are talking about stimulus packages. For example, Jacksonville, Florida, the mayor talked about how he wants to use part of the money that they got from the CARES Act to give $1,000 in assistance to some of its residents. So they're looking at using $40 million of what they received to give out $1,000 in assistance to 40,000 homes. Now, they have some restrictions on this. You have to make under $75,000. You have to have lost 25% of your income. It's also first come, first serve. So it's not money for everyone, but they are looking at giving more money to their individuals that live in their city. It's important to stay up with the news right now. I'm going to give you as much news as I can hear that I think is relevant, but pay attention to what your local governments are doing, because if we start having more cities that do this, it's going to be important to stay informed because it is first come, first serve in this scenario. I've already talked about the interim bill, but just as a reminder, this is for $322 billion to small businesses, $60 billion towards economic disaster loans, those EIDLs, where you can get grants for $1,000 per employee if you have a small business, and then $75 billion for hospitals and $25 billion for testing. That is what they're approving now. I've talked, and a lot of people have talked about phase 4 stimulus. I did want to bring up a new stimulus bill that I hadn't heard of before. This bill was brought up by Rashida Tlaib and Pramila Jayapal. I apologize for not being able to pronounce that very well, but it's called the Automatic Boost to Communities Act. And this is a lot more liberal with how much money they're going to give into who than some of the other plans. For example, this act would give $2,000 up front to everyone that was eligible, and then it would be reloaded with $1,000 each month up until 1 year after the end of everything that's going on, the crisis. So if we think the state of emergency started halfway through March, it'll be done halfway through June. So we're talking about payments for about 14 months from now. Now it won't be voted on for another month or so, but you're looking at maybe 13 months of payments and also the initial $2,000. So you're looking at $14,000 or $15,000 per person. Now, who would be eligible for this? Taxpayers, dependents, non-citizens, individuals who don't have a bank account, social security number, or permanent address, people living in unincorporated territories, or Americans living abroad. So everyone that is tied to America somehow would get the money for this. We're talking about babies, we're talking about people that are here illegally, and this is my recollection of it, but this is what I've read. So we're talking about $15,000 per individual. If we think there's a population of about 320 million here in the US, maybe 330, there's about 40 million people abroad from the US, and then let's say we have another 30 million people that are not counted in the census. Maybe they're here illegally or here for other reasons, because people are going to come out of the woodwork to get this money. So you're talking about 400 million people getting $15,000. That is a huge amount of money that I don't really see happening, but it's another plan to give us money. So I think as more fear comes out that drugs aren't working, or the economy's not reopening, and more people are given more options for stimulus, I think one of these will stick. Not necessarily how it's written right away, but I think that maybe that's a ploy to get more people behind the bill, and then they revise it to make it more realistic. But I've said this in the comments to people and in other videos, I could see a scenario where people are given, $1,000 up front, and then every month they reevaluate it for between $500 and $1,000, maybe some for the dependents too. But I could see a scenario like that where they don't just give out a ton of money and guarantee that 6 months from now will be the end of when you get $1,000 or $2,000. But I could see them reevaluating on a case-by-case basis each month and giving it to more people than they did last time. So more dependents, college students, more people like that really need the resources. So that's the news from today. I'll keep on updating you guys when I think there's something relevant, but those are the main takeaways. Hopefully we get something, like I've said, but just keep on staying informed, keep on watching videos that tell you what's going on, because without knowing, it's hard to plan for the future. I appreciate you guys watching this. If you like this, please leave a like. It really does help out the channel. Comment below what you think about these different proposals, what's going on right now. Do you think it's likely that we get stimulus? Do you think one of these plans is more likely than another? And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.